Welcome, Mashiur, for the mock interview. So just to let you know, this will be recorded and we'll upload on YouTube so that we can share with others and help each other. So I have your resume in front of me. Let's start with first, just tell me about yourself.
Okay, thank you. I'm Mashiur. I started my career as a quality assurance analyst 3 years back with Codenbox Corporation. My responsibility is to understand business requirements, specification, and high-level scenarios, and to convert them into the test cases and automation scripts if required, execution of the test cases, and reporting of the defects to the developer if there are any, and get them fixed. I have experience on functional, automation, regression, smoke, sanity, and API testing. In my current project, I'm working on an automation tester where we have used Selenium with Java and TestNG framework. We have used page object model where we have separated our test cases with the page object and perform testing on the same. For build management tool, we are using Maven. For version controlling, we are using Git, and automating our jobs for nightly run. On any schedule, we are using Jenkins. For defect management tools, for defect management and test case management, we are using Jira and TestRail. Working on Agile environment, we have daily stand-up call, and we have 2 weeks sprint, and yeah, that's it.
I think that's enough. Yeah, it's good enough. Thanks. So basically, overall, the nutshell, it's just you're working on an agile process, and you are involved with both manual testing as well as different phase of manual testing as well as the automation, and also I think it's a little bit of the API testing too, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's start with some manual question first, and then we'll move on to Java, and then we'll go to the automation. So what is the objective of testing? Just we did a very simple answer.
We want to give the quality product, bug-free product to our customer.
Yes. Yeah. So to deliver the quality product to the customer, that's the main objective of the testing. Next. And next, how do you write your test cases, or do you use any specific tool to manage your test activities?
Usually, I'm using Excel, and write all of my test cases in Excel and convert it into CSV file because I'm using TestRail. So I uploaded all my test cases into TestRail, and I test my all test cases.
Okay, but why you use Excel? I mean, why don't we use directly write your test cases in TestRail? So it takes extra, it costs you extra time?
Actually, I'm following this, and my organization is using this Excel and
the legacy tool.
Yeah, and though we have Jira, but Jira is integrated with TestRail, and over in Jira we actually raise our bug. But usually I'm writing the all test cases in
I mean, so that, yeah, your test management tool is a TestRail, so where you can write test cases, execute, you get the report for manual stuffs, and you can integrate with the Jira your TestRail. Yes, but this is not the. I mean, writing test cases first in Excel, it is a legacy process. Nowadays, we don't need because especially in Agile where we have a very tight schedule. So it's better to write your test cases directly. Since we have the tool, write your test cases probably would be the better option. So I think it's a better answer would be yes. TestRail is your test management tool. Why do you write your test cases, execute, and get a report through that TestRail? Okay. Next is to be, how do you ensure your test cases are covering all the requirement? So say for any specific function, you have a number of requirement or stories. So, and then based on that, you write some test cases. So how do you ensure that the number of test cases you're writing, it's covering your all the requirement?
Actually, we will analyze all the requirements, and we have a test metrics,
Mm-hmm.
and so that we analyze the test metrics, um, and then, for example, I have to write 100 test cases, and uh, then I see the test metrics, and there are some indicators in the test matrix. Then following that indicators, then I'll understand. I'm covering all the test cases.
Yeah, I think you are very close. The indicator, it's better to say yes, a test metrics. So test metrics is define you to ensure that your testing process, whether it's good or not. And one of the parameter on test metrics, it's called test coverage. So to verify test coverage, it's give you the ensurity that well, the number of test cases you're writing, it's covering if this requirement or not. So there is a formula. It's called like the total number of test cases mapped to requirement. So assume that you wrote a 98 test cases for a specific user story. So your total number of test cases is 98, and the formula is divided by the total number of requirement. So your requirement will be always 100, right? So your test total number of test cases 98 by your total requirement, which is 100, and multiply by 100, then it will give you the percentage of your test coverage, which is 98%. So that's the accurate formula that comes through the test metrics. That's and one of the parameter of the test metrics is called test coverage. So that's the very specific way to define that whether your test cases is covering, your specific features or a specific story or not. That's the way we can do it. And there is a also there is another metrics. It's a similar thing. It's called traceability metrics. As back into this now, we used to have an Excel where we can create a traceability metrics. That one side is your requirement, other side your mapping test cases, so you can confirm that okay, each and every requirement you have the related test cases. Specifically for nowadays, it's BDD features. In BDD, like you have a user story, and you have a different scenario. It's very indicated, very clear the different scenarios, right? So every scenario you have a number of test cases. So you can use the traceability metrics also that can ensure you that your writing a test cases is giving you the full coverage of your requirement. Okay, the next would be, what do you do before you execute the test cases? Any prerequisites? So you write the test cases, for sure you go through the requirement, you write the test cases, and then, so but before you write the test cases, is your team do any best practice?
Yeah, after writing my test cases,
It's before.
Okay,
before writing test cases.
Before writing my test cases, we have a team to evaluate the requirement, and we have a meeting, test planning meeting. So yeah, we meet together with our team member, and make a plan and what will be the environment of executing the test cases.
Yeah, that's the I think you were talking about the planning meeting. But
Yeah.
say your planning meeting is done, that's like number of story already assigned to you, and that you have to write the test cases based on that. So what's the next step after the planning, but before you write your test cases? Do you review your test cases, or is there any process like so you ensure that you are the writing test cases, it's perfect, like you have a team lead who can review your test cases, okay, this is the right test cases? Is there any best practice you do?
Yes, we have review meeting.
Yes. Okay. Yes. A review meeting is like specifically for your. It's not necessary that you need a specifically meeting for that. So the usual process is like before after you write the test cases, before you execute, if you share your test cases with your team lead or other person of your team who can review, like double check to make sure that your test cases is right, that's it's covering all the scenarios that we or as we expected. Okay. Next question. Suppose you found a bug during a test execution, then what do you do?
I'll make sure it is really bug or not. Then
How do you make sure?
um, first of all, I check. Uh, I mean, I test it. Manually, and
Yeah,
if
number of times, something
yeah,
like a couple of times or two
a
or
couple
three.
of time I test it, and then I talk to my colleague. Is really is bug or not? Then
Like it means is that like senior QA or team lead?
first of all, my peer, and then senior QA. And finally, if it's really confusing, then I talk to team lead. And then finally, if it is a bug, really bug, then I talk to developer.
You talk to a developer. Okay, so but you don't talk to the product owner.
Yeah, product owner is always, I talk with
Okay,
him.
so, well, and the next would be so if you talk with the developer, say assume that developer is saying that this is not a defect or bug, saying in his view this is not a bug, and he's saying you okay, close the bug. So this is not a bug because it's not it's not producible on his environment, some reason. Then what do you do that time?
Then I talk to product owner
Okay,
and test lead, um, and I execute this bug to their environment uh, to make sure it's really,
you help them walk through to reproduce the bug.
yeah.
Right? Yeah, so the product owner, the best answer will be the product owner. So you definitely you inform the team lead, and then you talk to the product owner because product owner he has the most knowledge about the product, about the features. So he has the very clear idea about the requirement. So your bug is against the requirement. It means it's not your test is not clearing as per the requirement. So when you talk to the product owner, and product owner can clarify with the developer, okay, this is the requirement, and that's why it's raising a bug because it's not clearing that part of the requirement, and that then and the final call will come from the product owner. He will say yes, this is a bug. Then developer they have to accept it. So the product owner is the crucial uh, individual who has the final call to confirm, okay, yes, whether it's a bug or not, and also like he will also advise you that you either direct assign that bug to developer, or you can put it back to the backlog because maybe it's a bug, but it's not a high priority bug, or they don't have the scope to resolve the bug during the sprint. So he can say or she can say that okay, put it back to the backlog, and we'll do make another plan on our next planning meeting. Okay, so the product owner is it's a key factor over here.
Okay.
Okay. So next is what is the difference between priority and severity?
Priority means how soon we will fix the bug,
Yeah.
and severity actually is how this bug actually affect the business.
Yeah, how bad the bug is.
Yeah.
Like it is both is like status, right?
Yeah.
The priority is also status. It's that goes against the requirement, like business requirement, like against the story or features. And the severity, it's the bug. It's also the status of the bug, how bad that bug. Uh, can you give any example? Like is it a priority and severity? Is it the same or not? Can you give any simple example?
Like any like uh, adding um, product to the cart,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not adding. So it's actually impact the business. The financial impact will happen if this happens. So this is high severity bug,
Mm-hmm.
and also priority also high.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a logo. The color is not appropriate. The
Mm-hmm.
logo color is not appropriate. So this is low severity and low priority.
Yeah, you're right. Or spelling mistake. So
Yeah,
spelling
spelling.
mistakes,
Yeah.
it's a low severity, low priority. But do you have any example? Say it's a high priority, I mean a high severity, but low priority. Have you ever faced any situation that the priority is low, but severity is high?
Um, yeah. Like
Like crashing application. So example, maybe this is okay. If you press any key on your keyboard, say F5, you could press F5 on your keyboard, it's crash the application. So it is a high critical priority, severity, right? But it's not doesn't happen until you press the F5. So this is very rare use case. The priority maybe is low because it's not required to you press the F5 to operate your application. But by mistake, if you somehow the user they press it by accident F5 and it's crashed the application. So it's in that sense the priority is low but severity is high.
right. Yeah.
Right? Okay. But your answer is right. I mean, the image, a logo, or spelling mistake is another. Okay. The last question of the manual testing is so you're following Agile. So what do you do in planning meeting in Agile? What do we actually do?
In planning meeting, we do what will be our environment, what tools we will use, um,
What
and
tools are you talking about? The testing tool?
yeah,
Okay.
and how to set the environment, um, and what will be the resources uh, for the testing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think so you are meant to planning meetings like planning meeting within the test group.
Yes.
Not that planning it is. Planning meetings like for the before you start your sprint, the sprint planning meeting. So sprint planning meetings usually it's all the stakeholder on a from the sprint from the team Scrum team. They usually present like the developer, tester, the UX designer, the product owner. They are the main stakeholder. They present in the planning meeting. So that time, usually they discuss the product owner, they take the role up there in this meeting. So they discuss what story is going to be, we're going to making a commit, we're going to, develop on our next sprint. So number of sprint, a number of test scenarios or stories is going to be selected during the planning meetings. And also it will be estimated like the story points. But and also, right? So time also the tester also be there because they also give their commitment. Okay, yeah, according to those all the stories were able to test or not, because as a tester they have to think in advance so that they can they can think within a sprint time. That's 2 weeks of sprint time or whatever is sprint time. Within that time you can make your test plan, you can create your test case, write your test cases, and also you're able to execute, right? And maybe you have a release, after right after the immediate end of the sprint, whatever you release, cadence, but schedule. So within that time, you can do, if you need to do the release testing too, you have to do this. So they have to think in advance. So they have to give their commitment during the planning meeting. So that's why the sprint planning meetings is very important. That's everybody giving the commitment, what they are going to do in the next sprint, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on Java now. Since I've seen that on your resume that you are doing also Selenium automation based on Java, right?
Yes.
Okay, so just a simple definition, just to define the class and object relationship.
Class is a template or blueprint,
Mm-hmm.
and object is instance of the class.
Okay, blueprint about what? What described in the blueprint or template?
The properties of the class. Say if it's animal, so what properties have in animal class?
Yeah,
so
like some
this
behavior, right? Some behavior of the properties means some behavior, states of the object or of the type of the object or of the class, right? And an object is the instance
yeah.
of the class. Okay, and I think you gave an example like the animal, right? So can you give a clear example like where we can say this is a class and this is an object of that class?
Say customer is a class,
Mm-hmm.
and we can create an object customer. The object name equals new customer. So new customer is object.
New customer, and what type of the properties your customer can have, or your customer class can have?
There could be name, age, ID.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So customer is a class, and each and every individual customer is an object of that class.
Yes.
And every customer, every individual customer, as an object, they have their own behavior and state. Like they will have their name, their email address, their ID, their address. Those are or phone number. Those are the properties of the object, right? For that specific customer. Or you can say the animal, right? So animal is a class, and dog is one of the object of that animal.
Yes.
So dog have their own behavior state, right? Their color, their sound. Those are the properties of the object. Okay. So what is an exception in Java?
Exception actually, is there any problem? I mean, in runtime, there is a problem in flow of execution of the code. Then they throw an exception. So there is a problem with the flow of the code.
Yeah, so you're right. So exception is an event which interrupt the normal execution of a program, right? So you have an code on your program when you run it, as you said, a runtime, you run it, and it's throwing an error, which is issue on your code. So that's called an exception. And how do you handle exception in Java?
So on the basis of the type of exception, say if it is arithmetic, it could be arithmetic exception. So that time I'll see what kind of mistake I made in the calculations. So this way I handle exceptions. Or In Selenium, sometimes we see when we test the element, then there could be uh, no such element exception. So at that time, I see where actually I made the mistakes and try to actually another one way we throw and catch block,
Try catch block.
try catch block to solve the issue.
Yeah, that's the best answer. So to handle the error or exception, whether in Java, specifically Java, or in Selenium, we use the try catch block. So because sometimes, example that say example in your automation, you have some code to do some specific test, and that features or that features is not enabled. That features is disabled for now, but in future it's going to be enabled. So you're writing your test cases or related code still is valid, but this time is not going to be executed. It will throw an error because that function is disabled for some reason. So you want to keep that code, right? But you want to keep that code. So to do that, but if you keep that code, if you are during a runtime, the compiler it read that execute that code, it will throw an error because that code is not valid because related function is disabled, right? So that you want to keep the code. The best way to handle that exception, you put that code in your try catch block. So put that code in a try, and then in catch block you will have it some supporting. So if the function is still disabled, you want to run this code, and if it's a fail, it will not stop its execution. It will move to the catch block, so which is the supporting code. So if it's a fail, it will execute that catch block, right? So it's a try catch block is the best option to handle exception.
Yes.
Okay. And do you know what is the difference, since you know the try catch block? So in a try catch block, we also use another keyword. It's called final, or you can say finally. In Java. So
final.
So what is the difference between final and finally?
Final keyword we use usually with the variable, or
Just only the variable.
so this, if you use the final keyword, the variable, the value will never be changed.
To restrict,
Yeah.
right? We use the final keyword. So with the variable, or you can use with the method too.
Yeah. So then we can't, override that method.
Yeah.
So if its method is final,
Yeah.
and
Or
finally,
you can even final your class. So final
yes,
keyword is goes to the class, the variable method to restrict,
yes,
to limit it, your accessibility of those specific object, right?
yes,
So the final class, if you use the final with the class, so it cannot be
extended.
right? It cannot inherit.
Yeah.
Final method or variable, it cannot be override since you use the final. And on the other hand,
Finally, usually we use with try-catch block. Um, uh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So you have a try block, you have a catch block, and then you have
and
also
then finally.
So
Finally.
what is the purpose we use the finally?
Finally, we use like, for example,
If any reason your try or catch block fail, then
yes,
you will, whether it's your try catch block is work or not, if it's a fail, your finally block will execute. So it
yes,
means the code you definitely wants to run, you can put some finally. That's the last backup, to handle your exception. So whether it's try catch block work or not, finally will execute. Right?
yes.
So that's why we use the finally block with the try. I mean, this is an extra backup. Okay. The next question will be, why does Java not support multiple inheritance?
It's I would say it's a Darwin problem.
Say that again.
diamond problem.
Mm-hmm.
And
So the inheritance, right?
yes,
So one of these. So inheritance is the principle that allow you to make a relationship between your child and parent. So your child class will have the access to your parent class properties, right?
yes.
So you can. So why Java doesn't allow more than one inheritance?
Because
So assume that let me make it a little bit more easier. So assume that you have a class A and you have a display method, and then you have a class B also have a display method. So class A and B you have a same method, display method, and you create another class C, and then use to inherit between your make a relationship between your parent and child. You have to use extend key, right? You know
yes,
that. So the code is will be it will create you write your child tree and then child class, and then you will use extend the keyword, and then you will put extend your parent class, right? So you will give the name of the parent class. So if you have a two parent class, like B and A, two parent class, both parent class have a one similar type method like display method.
yes.
So the reason why you are not able to, or Java doesn't allow you to extend multiple parent, because if you have a multiple parent and both parent have a similar type of method, like display method. So when you will create an object of your child class, like your child class C, and then you call that same method, like display method. So your compiler will get confused. So which method, this display method will call from where? Is that from parent B or parent A? Because the both parent have the similar method, right? So it is called ambiguous. So to avoid this ambiguous situation, Java doesn't allow to extend or inherit multiple parent, right? So that's the reason. So why doesn't Java allow?
Okay.
And it is a very common interview question. And so let's move on next one. What is polymorphism?
Polymorphism is uh, means method overloading and method overriding.
Yeah, this is a two type of polymorphism. Yeah.
Polymorphism and
But if we say the definition, just simpler definition, if you define the polymorphism,
is multi
yeah, or many, poly means
many
many,
form
yeah,
actually.
many forms, yeah,
Polymorphism is many form.
and it occurs when you have a many class that are related to each other by following inheritance. So,
Yes.
so there will be two many class, more than multiple classes. So one class, as we know, the inheritance between relationship between parent and child class. So polymorphism is established the relationship between many class following inheritance process.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So have you used polymorphism in Selenium? In your Selenium code?
Yes. We use polymorphism like in our page object model. We extend our base class with test class. So over there we override our code, and we also overload in like different println method or some method we have to overload in our page object model.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think so the first line, very first line we use in our code, which is like we say, WebDriver equals to new com driver. It is the following, it is pure following the polymorphism mechanism, because WebDriver is your parent class, and driver, which is the reference of your parent class, or which is, and also it is referring to the child class, which is the new Chrome driver, or I'll say new Gecko driver. So the how this code comes from, this code, how this, usually when you create an object of a class like new Chrome driver, then we put that object in a variable, say driver, and then the return type should be the same class, which should be Chrome driver. But we don't write the Chrome driver, right? We say WebDriver,
Yes,
driver equals new Chrome driver. How this works? It is working based on the polymorphism principle, because it's a WebDriver here, so that's why it's called polymorphism. It's a relationship, between many classes. So where it's following the inheritance. So here is a WebDriver is the parent class, right? And the driver is the variable of this WebDriver, and also it working as the reference, which is referred to the child class, which is the new Chrome driver, which is the Chrome driver is the child class.
yes.
So here is the pure example. And definitely at the other places we do inheritance, like we create a base class, and from there we call some of the method to our test classes. Definitely we're using extend, and those are mainly is inheritance. We're following inheritance, but this is would be the better answer. Like, okay, the WebDriver driver equals a new Chrome driver or Gecko driver, whatever driver you're using. This is the pure example of the polymorphism. And you are talking about overloading. So what is the overloading?
Overloading the same method name, but different parameter. We pass the different parameter.
Different parameters. It means the signature would be different. Like
yeah, signature could be different.
Okay. And it happened. Excuse me. Is that happen in the same class or two different class?
Method overloading would be the same class.
Okay. Yeah. So method overloading, it's happened in the same class, where the both class name could be the same. Return type could be the same, but the parameter or signature could be the different, right?
Yes.
Say, example, you have a class X and you have a method, like addition method, and you have a parameter, two parameter A and B, integer A and B, and then you have another method in the same class, same name like addition, but you have a three parameter in this case, like A, B, C. So when you create an object of that class and you call the same addition method, that time you have to pass the parameter. So if you pass the parameter 2 value, so it will call the first method. If you pass the 3 value, it will call the second method, right? So that's the overloading.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question we can ask, can you change the access modifier when overriding? Means access modifier, the method in child class.
No.
You can't change.
Have to be same.
You cannot change the access modifier when overriding.
Yes. We cannot change.
Okay, why?
Because then if we can change the access modifier, then it will not be override. Yeah. And as we inherit the property from the our parent class, so we have to be the same unless there won't be.
Basically, we cannot reduce the visibility.
Yes.
Of the access of the method of your inherit class, right? So the method you are going to inherit from different class. So if you change the access modifier, say specifically from public to private, you can't make it a private, then you're not able to override, right? So we can in that sense you can, but in other sense you can too. So if there is a public, you can make them a probably not private, but you can make them a probably default, or you can make them a probably protected. So those are the access modifier too. But fully restricted, you can't make them public to private. So the pure answer would be the no, but in some cases you can do yes, but it have to be between public to default or protected.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. But you're right. I mean, it's in solid answer, it's no. When do we use abstract class?
Abstract class we use when we hide the implements. I mean the business logic of that class property. Then that time we use abstract class.
So it's an abstract class. It's a special class.
Yeah,
so it has some of the method that it doesn't have the body definition.
Yeah, there's no body definition or business logic. Yeah,
or business logic. Yes. So is that an abstract class require all the methods should be without body definition, or it has some exception, like it could be mixed,
there is exception. We can also declare a method without an abstract.
Okay, so it means concrete method.
Yeah.
So basically your abstract class is a class where you have at least one abstract method, it means without a body definition, and mix up some non-abstract method too. Right. Yes. So the main point is it should at least one abstract method. Then you can say this class is abstract. Okay. And can you give any example, the use case of the abstract method, abstract class? Like why we need an abstract class?
For example,
or have you used any abstract, class in your project?
Yeah, it's in our page object model. We declare all of our web element in a private, and we and respective function, and we call it in our test classes. And in this case, we hide the unnecessary implementation in our test case class.
I think that's something you're talking about, constructor that you hide. So abstract, since we just let's think about a bank. The bank, say, assume that you have a bank class, can be an abstract class, which is a mixed up concrete method. Concrete method, it means method have the body definition. So example, in a bank, you have a common use case, which is a deposit and withdraw. So deposit and withdraw related method in your bank abstract class is the concrete class, but which is called the reusable. But you can have also another method is called calculate interest. So calculate interest, it will be vary bank to bank. So you can create a method which is an abstract method in this class, and it means your body definition is empty. So that the different other bank, when they are going to call that method, they can implement in their way. So some bank their interest rate would be 5%, some bank interest rate would be 2%. So that's why we leave empty that method.
Yes.
As an abstract method. And other hand, the reusable, the common reusable function like deposit withdraw, we create those methods as a fully concrete method. So they don't have to the bank like TD Bank, RBC Bank, those sub banks, they don't have to write the same reusable method. So in this case, the central bank, they can create an abstract class with some concrete method like a reusable method, and also some abstract method which is like calculate interest rate, and then they can give that class, this abstract class, to the sub bank, TD Bank or RBC Bank, and then they can just other than writing the code by their own, they can just call those methods, use our inheritance process, and call that method, the requirement method. I mean, withdraw and deposit will be as it is because the function is same, but they can implement the calculate interest method as their needs, right?
Yes,
so that's the base example, like the abstract class.
Yes,
so you can remember that example, like the bank example.
Yeah, this remain common actually.
Yeah, exactly.
We will reuse it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it is over here. We also using the overriding.
Yeah.
Because like the implementation would be as you need. So you're in, this is the overriding for the abstract method too, right? And an abstract, you can say. So that would be, I think this would be the best, the answer, giving with example, other than if you have any specific example from your project. So sometimes the people, they are not, they don't have the full picture about your project. So give some generic answer with an example, something like people can easily understand. Okay, let's move on the next one. Why to use interface class?
WebDriver driver builds new Chrome driver. So in WebDriver is our interface class.
Yeah. Right. So you will use WebDriver as the interface. So what would be the definition of the interface class? What type of class is the interface?
So in interface class, all method will be without business logic. So whenever we'll create any object, actually we can create object of the interface, but we can create a object of the child class with the reference of that interface.
It's implementing.
So we can access all the properties of that interface.
Yeah. So overall, the interface is better. Start with the definition. So interface class is a class where all the included method in this class without a body definition or without a business logic. So it means this interface class is dependent to implement their body definition on a child class.
Yes.
And the example of the interface class that we use, the WebDriver equals new Chrome driver. Over here, WebDriver is the interface class, and it depends on the child class, which is the Chrome driver. Because so what about the method in WebDriver? So WebDriver is a pure abstract class. It's abstract. So here is a now relation between abstract and interface. So sometimes we get confused between that. So pure abstract, it means all the methods will have without a body definition, without a business logic. So interface is the pure abstract class. So whatever the method we know in WebDriver interface, like the click method, SendKiss method, URL method, those methods are empty. And the implementation of those methods is described on the child class, like a Chrome driver or Gecko driver. How this click method will going to work, the body definition inside there. Right? So that's why it depends on the child class. The implementation depends on the child class. So from the very beginning, we use the interface class, like WebDriver is the pure example of the interface class. Okay. Next question. Can you use abstract and final both with the method? Abstract and final. Yeah. So when you create a method, abstract method, we use the abstract keyword. Even when you create abstract class, we use the keyword abstract keyword with the class to ensure that this is the abstract method or abstract class. So assume that the method is abstract. We use the abstract keyword. So can you use the final keyword with the abstract method when you create an abstract method?
It should not. Yeah, we can use.
How we can use?
Oh no, actually, it is abstract, so there is a implementation could be different according to their needs. So we can make it final.
We cannot make it final.
Yeah, so if it's make it final, we can override it.
Override it, exactly. So like it's just we said, right? So the click method, the SendKiss method, those are pure abstract methods without a body definition. So if we use the final keyword with this abstract method, those implementation on the Gecko driver or Chrome driver will not able to override because it's final. We restrict it. Right? So the answer is no.
No. Yeah.
Okay. How a child class inherit multiple class. How a child class, we know the inheritance.
Yes.
How a child class inherit multiple class.
We use implements keyword, and if we have uh, two class, then after implements, we will write the name of both
Both
classes.
classes. Can you extend multiple child class? Can you extend multiple class in a child class?
No.
No. Yes.
No.
So I think so. We already talked about it. So
Yeah.
in sense of extend, you can inherit. That's why if they say inherit, no. But if they say implement, yes, implement, you can do it.
Yes.
Right. So it's because implementation, when they say implement, it's implement always is interface class in a
Yes.
child class. So it's if you have a multiple uh, interface parent class and they have a common method, both parent class have a common, doesn't matter because both method in the both parent class, it's empty. So when you call, the compiler will not get any confusion because they're both are body definition is same, it's empty.
Yeah.
Right? So implementation is there's no problem, but if they want to inherit, which is extend, there will be problem.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any idea about the collection in Java?
Yes, I have idea about collection.
Okay, so have you ever used collection concept in your frameworks or anywhere on your code?
Yeah. I used list, a set,
Mm-hmm.
hash table, hash map.
Okay, so when did you use list? Just give you or set. Just give you an example for
So
what.
I use list when to find the elements, find elements
Mm-hmm.
from the web page. So
Mm-hmm.
at that time, I use list because it could be duplicate, at
Mm-hmm.
least allow duplicate value,
Yeah,
and set when we handle the multiple windows. At that time we use set,
yeah.
and set doesn't allow duplicate.
Element. Yes. So the list is allowed. So it's basically the collection in Java is a framework, which is a pre-made design framework that provides an architecture to store and manipulate the group of objects. And it's so group of object when you say it means it has many interfaces like set, list, queue, DQ, or some of the classes like we say also the array list or list, vector, all those things. So it's list and set is I think is the most usable scenarios that we apply in Selenium, which is a list. It's to get the duplicate elements, duplicate elements with the same path maybe for so example it's a radio button we can say, right? So radio button they can have one attribute like all the radio button can have a one common attribute which is called the type equals radio. So that time you find elements, Java find elements using the list. So all the radio buttons we can capture in a list array.
Yeah.
Right. And then we use it. And also the set that's doesn't allow the duplicate. So we can have a specific ID for a specific window.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Okay. The last question of the Java. So assume you have a string meta. It's a string. Then write a program to reverse that string and compare with the actual string. So you have a string is a meta. So how we can write a program to reverse that string and then compare that reverse string with the actual string.
Okay. So I'm sharing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You can ask me send me the request for a screen share.
Yeah, I'm gonna share the screen.
Okay. Just show the logic.
Okay.
You don't have to write the class, so it's fine. Just
okay. Okay.
or it's fine. You go. So you have a string first.
String name.
So meta. Yeah. Since it's a string, I mean, it's not necessary for now. We're assuming this is a pseudocode, but in real life, you have to put in the meta is put in a double quotation since it's a string.
Okay, yeah, this is
fine. Don't worry. Go ahead. Just want to see your logic, that you can build the logic.
okay.
So what is this? So you declare another variable. It's called length, and you put a name dot length. So is that a specific method that will give you the length of your string that you wrote, right? So length. What the length method will do?
Actually, this will give the length of the name.
I mean the string.
Variable. Yeah.
So
String.
it will give you the length of your string. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you declare an empty string. Okay.
Yeah. And for loop.
Mm-hmm. I think you miss the initial is of I. Right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So you put some. Okay. So you're printing reverse. Okay.
Yeah. This will give the reverse of name, madam.
Mm-hmm.
And
But how you confirm? How you confirm this? The reverse. Whatever you get the reverse. So assume that if it's not even madam, it will not match, right? So how you confirm that your reverse word is matching with your actual string?
so
How are you gonna compare that? So you get the reverse. Yeah, so reverse will find. So reverse will hold your reverse string. Now you need to compare, right? Your reverse.
So I'll write the if condition.
Mhm.
If name dot equals, it could be ignore case, or not ignore case, but
yeah, I understand. So I think so I got your point. So you will use the if condition, and then you will do use a equals method, right? Equals or equals ignore case, and then between your name dot equals or equals ignore case with a reverse, so it will compare. But are you going to use this if method inside this for loop, or it should be outside of the for loop?
No, it should be outside of the for loop.
Yes, it should be outside of for loop, because every time it will reverse one character, and after that it will go through the if condition if you put this if inside the for loop, right? But
Yes.
you want to compare that a comparison. You want to do this comparison when all the string is reverse. You have a solid reverse word, and you have a solid, you have actual. So then after this, so you're outside of the for loop, you should have this if condition. Then if it's a match, then you can put another probably print statement like system.out.println. You can say match. If it's not, you can put another else condition of the if, so it's not matched. Right? So you're very close. I think it's good. Okay. Yeah.
Can I stop sharing?
Yes. Yes, please. Okay. So I think that's all our the Java, and let's move on our automation. And I see this your resume saying that you are doing the automation based on Selenium, as we know already. Let's start from the beginning of the automation. So what is Selenium WebDriver?
Selenium WebDriver is an interface, and is a library. Selenium WebDriver is a library. So over there we get a lot of jar file and
predefine some class methods, right?
Yeah.
So we can say other hand, Selenium WebDriver is an API where it's a collection of methods, collection of class, predefined collection of methods or class, right? So it's an API, or in a programming language, we can say it is an interface. Right? Okay. And a lot of people, they say it's a tool, but it's not a tool. It's a WebDriver, so we already know this WebDriver is an interface, right? And you already know this. Why it's interface? Because all the methods inside this class, inside this interface or class, is without a body definition. So, what type of different locators we can use in Selenium WebDriver? Few of them example.
Yeah, various locator in Selenium WebDriver like ID, name, then a link text, partial link text, tag name, class name, then XPath, CSS selector, DOM.
Yeah, I think that's all. I mean, that's good enough. Okay, yeah. Since you said like you use XPath, and I know that XPath is a very famous locator to locate any object in Selenium. So what is the difference between absolute and relative XPath?
Absolute XPath start with single slash, forward slash, and it start from root node from in our DOM to our desire node. So it will search our web element everywhere from our root node to desire node. And it start from single slash, forward slash. And there is another kind of XPath, this relative XPath. So relative XPath start with double forward slash, and it search the web element. It will don't go to the root. This will start where the
It is.
element is
Yeah.
located.
So it could be the middle of the page, anywhere, and so it is more. So which one is more accurate, or which one is you would use?
Absolute is more accurate, but it takes a lot of time and it has a lot of problem. If there is a dynamic web element, then this will not work.
It will fail.
Yeah, fail.
Yeah. So then in real life we use that relative XPath.
Relative XPath.
Okay. Do you know what's the syntax of the relative XPath? Or how you find the XPath?
We'll start with double slash and start sign and that tag name, and it's at the rate of value.
So it's // star then tag name.
Then a bracket, third bracket, and tag name. Then value would be with single quotation. Value of the tag name.
Is it a tag name or attribute?
It's attribute, not the tag. Yeah, attribute and name of the value of the attribute.
That attribute. Okay, so // star or the tag name, then inside a third bracket at the rate, we have to use at the rate sign. Attribute equals to the value of that attribute. Okay, this is the syntax of that. Is there any other way you can find the XPath? Is there any?
Yes, we can use GrowPath too.
Or there's another tool also market. It's called Selector Hub.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is the main difference between XPath and CSS selector locator?
XPath can traverse from top to bottom, from parents to child and child to parents. But CSS selector only traverse from parent to child, top to bottom.
Yeah.
So this is the difference.
You're right. Very good. Let's talk about some weight. So do you notice the difference between implicit weight and explicit weight?
Yes. Implicit weight is global weight, and it applicable to the whole scripts. But in explicit weight is we can customize it to the specific condition. If this condition is met, say if this click within 5 seconds, then script this will just wait only for 5 seconds on the basis of that specific element, not the whole element.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, and let's talk about some scenarios. So how do you perform mouse activities in Selenium?
We use action class.
What class?
Action class.
Okay, yeah.
Action class, and there is double context click. We had double click, left click, and move to element.
So action class is the class that we use to do some mouse activities. And I think we already talked about a little bit about the set interface we use, the set class we use to handle multiple windows. So how exactly you handle multiple windows in Selenium?
So we use window handles method, and
method to
get all the windows.
Okay.
Yeah, to get all the windows, and
ID probably for each and every window.
Yeah, and as set doesn't allow duplicate element, so we use iterator method, and so in iterator we create
ID
child,
child.
yeah, child window, a parent window, and then we pass the
That is specific ID.
parameter, yeah, specific ID to traverse to child to parent, yeah.
And that time we use driver dot what method?
Switch to
Switch to
driver, switch to
specific ID of that
window,
specific window.
yeah, then
Is
parameter, yeah,
for child, right?
yeah, child or parent, yeah.
Yeah. And get window handles method will help us to traverse to define the unique ID for each and every window.
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever used in your framework is a TestNG? I see this the TestNG framework you used on your project. So if yes, then what is the difference between before method and before test?
Before method will, if you use before method, this will run with the pair. I mean, if you have 100 methods
In a class?
in a class, then this before method will run 100 times.
Okay, so you have a class, you have 100 methods, and one of the method you have with the before annotation, at the rate before annotation.
Yeah.
So you're saying that's this before method will run 100 times.
100 times.
Like as you have 100 methods in your class.
For example, if I use before method and we want to initialize our browser, then before every method, this browser will initialize.
Yeah.
Yeah. If any method crashes, that method will not run, but rest of the method will run. Yeah.
And what about the before test annotation?
Before test annotation will run only one time before the test.
Only run one time before the test. Before what test? I mean, before, from what class?
Like
Say you have a say example 5 class.
Yeah.
And within 5 class, in each class you have a 10 methods. So if you in one of the class you have it before test annotation.
Yeah.
So how this before test method run once for all of them? How is going to be arranged? What's the process it will follow? Like before it will run once. Before how many methods is that? Before all the methods you have in different classes, or how is going to be defined?
No, if I have 10 classes and if I use before test annotation, so this will run only one time before the 10 classes, and execution will happen after initial. For example, if I use before test annotation for initializing our browser, and if you have 10 classes, then browser will initialize only one time and execute all the 10 classes.
Okay. Is that so? Assume that you have a 2 module. You have a 2 module. One module it's like say one module is car. Another module it's like let's say motorbike. So car and motorbike, 2 module. And the first module you have a 5 class and number of methods. And the second module you have a say 3 class and number of methods. But in this 2 module, in one of the modules, so one of the class you have a before test method.
Yeah.
So you said that this method will run once. So it will run once specifically for that specific before all the methods in this specific module it belongs to, or it will be runs once overall between the 2 module before all the methods you have in 2 modules.
This will run with 2 module with all the methods. I mean car class and bike class. If we use before test in car class, Then
So tell me, so where we declare the module, where we create the module or test folder, where do we create the module or test folder?
in our test.ng XML file.
XML file. Okay, in testing the XML file, we create module. So we can create a multiple module up there.
Yeah.
So in before test, it's run based on the XML file. In the XML file, where you have a module or test folder, so it runs first only once for the specific module. If you have a 5 module, but your test before test method should be in under one module.
Yes,
One module.
yes, of course, yeah.
If you want to run this method on other module, it should be on other module. So whatever this is before test method, it belongs to the module. It will run only once. Based on this, all the methods you have that specific module, not all the modules.
Yeah.
To make it all the modules, you have to create the same method in other module too. So it follows the XML file, based of XML file, the module or test folder you create. It follows clearly an XML file.
Yes.
And the following module.
Yeah.
And the other hand, the before method, it's run in class level, as you say. So it is in class level before all the methods or tests you have in that specific class. So that's the only difference. It's like before method is applicable in class level, and the before test is applicable in XML level, following that specific module.
Yeah.
And one is runs, it's the number of times, depends on how many methods you have, but it's before test runs once based on that specific module it belongs to.
Yes, I understand. Yeah.
Okay. Assume that you have 100 test cases from different classes. So 5 different classes, you have 100 test cases. It means 100 methods. And how can you run, only 40 out of them 100? You need to run, say, 100. Make it more clear. So you have 100 test cases in 5 different classes. So say, assume that this is your regression. So out of regression, you want to run some smoke test. So a smoke test would be like probably 40 test cases, 40 method, not all of the 100. So are you going to create a separate project for this to make a 40 test cases or 40 the method to run your smoke test, or without writing a same code again, you can segregate 40 test cases, 40 method from out of 100? How can you do this?
We can use exclude. We can exclude methods in our XML file, or also we can do enable equals false in test.ng.
Yeah, you can do exclude. If you want to exclude, so out of 100, you want to run 40. So it means you have to exclude 40 of the rest of the 60. So that's a long code would be like you have to, every time you have to say exclude this method, exclude this method. So there will be 60 lines for each and every method you want to exclude. If you have 1,000 test cases and out of 1,000 you want to run only 100, so then you have to exclude 900 lines, 900 methods. So is that optimized way to do?
Yeah, there is, but right now I forget it.
Okay. Yes, there is in TestNG, there is a option that you can make a group. You can make a batch.
Okay.
So say 40 test cases, you are going to make a one batch, say smoke. So you can give a group name by decide when you get at the rate test, when you create a method. Method, it means your specific one test case, right? So decide that's when you create a at the rate test, decide that you can give a group name. So you can give a group equals to, you can give a group name, say smoke. So all the 40 test cases, you can give the same name.
Okay.
Yeah. So it means you are batching by one single name. And then, you can run that batch through your XML file. that is specific. So it will just only run all the method based on that same group name.
Yes.
So this is the smart way. Other than exclude, exclude will work if you have a very few number of test cases. You want to exclude few of them. But if you have lots, that's not the optimized way to do. Or creating another project, that's not also optimized way to do. Okay. So exclude is a batching all the 40 test cases using group annotation and run that group through your separate testing XML file. In testing XML file, you can create another XML file, right?
Yes.
So you can, it's called profiling. So you can create another XML file and you can run that XML file. It will just run this, based on this 40 test cases. Okay, let's talk about the screenshot. Can you just explain or give the idea, high-level idea in regards to the code? What type of code? How you write your code to get the screenshot? What method you use or logic?
We use
explain.
We use get screenshot as method, and we typecasting the take screenshot interface, and over there we create source file, and the parameter is file output.file, and we create.
So before you say the code, what will be the logic? What will do by this code? Like it will take a screenshot as a file and put somewhere.
Yes.
Would be there.
Yes. So we have a target folder, and we have to give the path of that target folder. So, and finally, we create file output, util file dot copy, and we pass the parameter source and target. And this way.
Yeah, I got your code. I mean, the best answer would be, say, first the scenarios, like what do you want to do by this code? What will do by this code? So, okay, so we'll take a screenshot and store as a file and save on a virtual memory in Java heap, or so, and from there we'll copy that file and put on our target folder or target path. So first part is that we'll take this screenshot and store as a file on virtual memory. So that's the for this scenario. We'll write our code, get a screenshot as, and then we'll pass the parameter type of the file, like output type dot file probably, and we'll cascade the text screenshot interface, right? And we'll put in a source folder. So it means by that code, it will take the screenshot and puts in a source folder in a virtual memory. And the next logic would be, we'll copy that file and puts on our target path.
Yes.
So to do this, we'll use the file copy file, the method, and that comes from the file util class.
Yes.
So file util class, there is a method is called the copy file, which has a two parameters, source and target.
Okay.
So we already have the source, which is the src source folder, and then we can pass the new parameter as a path, our target path.
Yes.
It will store up there.
Yes.
Right? So that's the way it will, and in this code we can place in a try catch block. So if any reason it doesn't work, we have some backup, supporting code. Okay, this is very important, like taking screenshot. Nowadays, it's Selenium have the version 4 that makes it much easier. It was up until version 3, it was this way, but now it's they make it more easier taking the screenshot. But that's the actual fact of how we can take the screenshot. So let's move on. I see on your resume, so you use some Maven in your project, right?
Yeah.
So what is Maven?
Oh, Maven is it's a jar. it's a jar.
Or you can say why we use Maven. What is the advantages of using Maven?
The advantages of using Maven is we can separate our base class to test classes, and we can uh, integrate some tools with Maven, like TestNG, Jenkins.
Yeah, in that sense, I think you are understood like what Maven does, but what actually Maven, in theoretically, that Maven is a so you as you said, it's give you the option like a testing G, give you the option to integrate your source control, or even it can help you to integrate to the Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. So what actually it does? It is giving you a complete set, a structure of your project. So it means Maven, it's a build project management tool. It's helped you to build your project in a systematic way so that everybody can they follow. Because you can build your project, your frameworks in different way, and another a QA engineer can build the project in a different way. So it is not a common. So to build your project in a common structure, Maven give you that features so that everybody can follow it. So that sense, Maven is a build project management tool, right? Where it's not only give you the structure, like to build your framework, but also it give you some advantages to manage and control your dependency, right?
Okay.
So we know this like it has a pom.xml file, which is the very powerful is it's help you to manage your dependency. Like all dependency, it means all the different jar you need, right? Like Selenium, Java, TestNG related, Log4j, or Common iOS, or etc. So it's because when you do coding on your machine, so probably you download the jar and inject your project, but somebody else is going to work on the same project. So sometimes maybe they will use a different version of the jar. So then there will be some compatible issue. To avoid that, Maven is giving you structure or pom.xml file where you can have some code instead of related with a specific jar. So everyone have the same code. It means same dependency, same version of the jar. And it will automatically download from the Maven repository side all this dependency or jar, and it will inject your project. So you don't have to do it maintaining manually even. Right, so Maven, it's a build project management file that gives you the structure of your project, of your framework, as well as it's give you the more control on your dependency through the pom.xml file. Right. Okay. Let's talk another features probably. How do you handle hidden elements in Selenium? Hidden element. Say you have an element, it's hidden. It means again, it is some sort of requirement from the dev team. Okay, we don't want to display that element, but it's related HTML code, it's related code, it's already there, but it still is hidden. Their plan probably, the next version, when they will release the next release, they will be make it visible. So how do you confirm that they created the element? The developer, they created the element, but it's a hidden. So you have to confirm this element, it's hidden, and also it's created. So if it's how you confirm that?
No idea.
Okay, so it's very simple. We know this. We use isDisplay method. Remember isDisplay method. So since the code is there, so you can easily find the element, find that path for that element, and after that you can use isDisplay. So what it does is display method. Display method return true or false.
Okay.
In that sense, it will return false because it's not displaying the map. The code, the element is there. Since it's a hidden, it should return. It's not displayed. It should return false. So if it's a return false, it means it was able to find the element. So they create the element, but it's not displaying. it means, it's hidden. So we can use easily is display method, to confirm that a hidden element is there. Right? Okay. Let's talk about now a little bit about the framework. So what is an automation framework? And what type of framework we could have, or what type of framework you use in your project?
There is a various framework, data-driven framework, test-driven framework, hybrid framework, so keyword-driven framework.
Yeah, those are different types. So,
yeah,
what would be the definition if we say what is the framework? Why you use framework?
Yeah, the test-driven framework is first of all we.
You don't have to explain each and every framework. Just to have an overall idea, like why you use the automation framework, why you use all different type of frameworks. What is the main advantages of framework, using the framework?
So it saves time, and this creates automation easier, and framework also helps to work with different different people. Different people with different area, and we can upload code in a specific repository, like global in a GitHub, a global repository. From there, we can pull up our code in our local machine, and then we can work there. And we can use TestNG so that we can run all of our test cases very simple way. And if we want, we can exclude it. We can make it group. We can do parallel testing. We can execute our test cases with different environment. So this is the
so all the advantages. I think you got the key point, right? This is all the advantages using the framework. So what's exactly framework does? It's give you, it is a logical sets of concept that it has some specific rules and advantages. Each and every framework there have some benefits, some advantages. As you said, like we can make it in batch, we can batch them, we can run together, run parallel, we can exclude, include. So all those things come from specific framework. So a specific framework, they have a specific benefits. It means all the frameworks, they have some rules, some benefits, some concept. So when we decide, before we build our project, we all have a plan, all the team, and then we analyze all the frameworks and benefits, that which benefit, which framework would be more appropriate for us. Then we go for that framework so that we can get those benefits. So in one sentence, we can say framework is a set of concept, rules, or you can say best practices, right? Which can follow by the entire team in a systematic way, so that we can use all the benefits and we can follow all rules by everyone. So we're all in the same page. We don't do whatever I like.
Yeah.
The same thing you can do by a different way. But we do, as an organization, we don't want to do this. We want to do, we want to make sure that we're following some same concept, same rules, same principles, same best practice. So frameworks give us that kind of opportunity, structure. Right? So that's the framework. So you use a different framework like TestNG or data-driven in your project. So have you faced any challenges in your project, in your framework? Any challenges in your whole project when you build a project? Any scenario, different type of scenarios, like you face challenges? I mean, definitely you face some of the challenges. Everything is not, everything is not easy walking, like you just code it and it runs and it's able to find it. Definitely you had some issues, and then you have to resolve it. It was not straightforward. give just a couple of examples, few examples, and how you resolve those issues.
For example, if there is a dynamic web element, so at that time it's become a challenge to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time I talked to seniors to resolve that issues.
Yeah, how does what was the solution? The senior even they give you the solution, how you overcome. Like you talk to them, but definitely they help you. So what was the concept? How they solve it? Is that a one-on-one or any other any other example you can give? Like you resolved.
Also, reporting issues, and sometimes this could be like this way. Say I said it's a bug, but actually developers said no, this is not the bug. So
Yeah, but that's not the related with your automation framework.
okay.
It's not for your project. This is a very common and very important questions they ask you. So what your answer should have some of the challenges, scenarios that you face in your automation framework, and then also the solution, how you overcome. So we already did it. You already know it. So example, uh, uh, auto suggestive drop down. So example, Google search. So if you have it's a dynamic search, right? So its result is always is not the same. So you can hard code a specific result, right? So because result will come up based on what you search. So the way you have to code your automate is not a hard code, like any one of the output you hard code is specifically, it will show next time it's not. So you have to, you have your solution would be create your path, create your XPath or your locator following like create a dynamic XPath following parent-child descendant result. So you are not specifically indicating any specific output, you are just indicating path. Okay, so number fourth part, whatever the result would be, it's on the number fourth drop down, so or so this is like that solution would be creating a dynamic XPath using parent-child relationship, parent-child descendant relationship. Or sometimes you can have a, timeout resulting issue for synchronization problem. So sometimes it's a lot of times we say we ran the script, it's fine, it's running, and sometimes it failed because of timeout. It's got a timeout. The same is script, right? So it is because of its synchronization issues. So it means sometimes it's saying like elements are not found due to the timeout, timeout or due to exceed the times, right? So that time, how you overcome? Maybe just you increase your implicit weight or increase your explicit weight for the specific scenarios. So that will be the solution, right? And sometimes if you even implicit weight, explicit weight doesn't work. That time you can use there is another method in JavaScript. It's called JavaScript executor. In the JavaScript executor, it can handle more accurately other than even explicit weight. So that would be another solution. Or browser compatibility issue. So browser compatible, our Selenium test script where it's execute properly in Chrome or Firefox browser, but probably it has. We always know that it has some issue with the IE browser, right? So that time, how we can resolve that issue? Like it can find in Chrome or Firefox, but you're not finding the element when you run on IE. How we can overcome that issue? Right? So maybe then you can use probably explicit wait to have more, or thread the slave to wait more so that it get more time to driver get more time to find even through the IE. Or sometimes it has a the driver compatibility issue, because it's
Yeah.
every browser, they have a different version of the driver, right? So how you are running your script based on a specific version of the Chrome browser, say browser version 99. But tomorrow your browser gets updated, and then that driver will not compatible with the new version of the browser. How you handle this kind of, this is a browser compatibility issue. So that's why we have WebDriver Manager API. So WebDriver Manager API, I hope that probably you remember this. WebDriver Manager API is the mechanism that's help you to automatically download and automatically verify what's the browser you have, and then it's automatically download the WebDriver from, right? So then you don't have to even manually inject any driver. That resolves that issue. Right? So that's another problem that you face, and this is the way you resolve the issues. Or sometimes we have the issue like you have a frame inside a frame. Remember iframe?
Yeah.
First iframe. So you have a frame. So we have a frame. We know that our driver have to switch to frame following the index number. So sometimes you could have a frame inside a frame. So you have a one outer frame, and there is another inside a frame, and there's some element inside the inner frame.
Yeah.
So this is not straightforward. So how you resolve it? So you first is find out how many frame you have total. Then you find the specific index number. The frame, usually we find we access the frame through the index number. When you say driver dot switch to frame, we have to pass the index number of this.
Yes.
So we have to find out exactly the index number of that specific inner frame. So then you say you pass that index number to to switch your driver to get that inner frame, and then you do it whatever you need to do, and then you have to come out from that specific inner frame. So it is not straightforward. This is some sort of challenging too. Or sometimes you have a Windows alert or pop-up. So Windows alert or pop-up is not like a JavaScript alert like we used to know. Like we say the driver switch to the right to this the alert. So it's the Windows alert, like your operating system alert. So to handle those kind of things, so you have to use there is a third-party tools called AutoIT. AutoIT. So that's, you don't have to give so many examples, but 3 or 4 of them it should be fine. Or handling the child window or multiple tab, right? So this is not straightforward. Yeah. So you can put that solution would be, yes, we use get window handles method to store and create unique session ID for all of the windows and pass that session ID to that driver to move to the right child window, and we do it whatever we need to do, and then we come out from there, right? And so those kind of, it's not straightforward, right? Or creating some sort of a problem report, extended report is not. So you have to create, nowadays you don't have to use the extended report, so there's a much better LO report that comes to the market, right? But yeah, if you use the extended reports, to use the extended report, you have to create a separate class, right? Yeah. So, and then you have to inject it to your framework.
Yes.
So give just number of scenarios that you face some problem, and you have to tell the solution also, how you overcome. So that would be the proper answer. I think.
Thank you.
I do have a separate one single tutorial in just only for this questions, how you challenge, what type of challenge you face in the frameworks and the solution. So whatever I say, so number of including those, there is a few more. So make some marks in a few of them so that you can easily explain, including the the solution. Okay, so that's all about this the automation. Let's move. The last part is the API. We'll have just a few very lightweighted concept about the APIs. So see this. Okay, so what is an API? And just if you have some few example of the API that we use in our regular life, so that I understand that you have the clear idea about the API.
Yeah, API is application programming interface, which actually work between 2 systems.
Yeah.
And in practically we have Google Map is API, WebDriver is API, Then we use Uber is an API.
Amazon advertisement is an API. Even the Twitter is there's API. Everyone nowadays even
Yeah.
API we're using. So most of the famous you can say YouTube API, Twitter API, Amazon advertise, or Google Map is the most everyday we're using API. And API it's the is an intermediary, or you can say middle tier.
Yeah.
Middle tier that works with the two system, or two application to communicate with each other, right? Then why we need API testing? What is the importance of API testing?
We need to test the API because whatever data we create in our database, it's creating exactly, updating exactly, or partially updated exactly, and the message is getting through a proper way. And is there any problem with this message? We get the response code, the exact exact response code. So we have to make sure we are getting the exact response code. That's why we actually test the API.
Okay, I think so. I got your logical answer. Yes, to make it more clear, like you can say, the modern web application nowadays they create based on three tier. One is a presentation tier, which is the UI we see, or UI interface. Another one is the logical tier, or the business, the logic tier. It's written in this tier. It's you can say middle tier. This is the API, and it takes the command and verify the business logic. Like whatever you're giving a command, is that following their rules or business logic. That's the middle tier, or API we're saying. And then based on that, it passes to the data tier, which is the third tier or database, and it also analyzes the return from the database, what's the responses coming up, and based on that, they give you the some response status.
Yeah.
So that's why at the middle tier or logic tier or business tier is the API. It's very important because in this tier, the developer, they put all the rules, all the business logic. Right. So example, I for the logging API, so it's email login API. So you enter username and password, and and then this username and password is goes to the middle tier, and middle tier they have some rules to validate valid username, valid password, right? And then based on that rule, they will pass this message to the database, and database will respond. If database they have your already existing username password, they will respond like success. And then again, this middle tier or the logic tier or business tier, they will verify the response, and then they will show you the response. So if the logic tier, the important to testing the logic tier or business tier, because it has all the rules and the business logic. And that's the main, what do we see, the interface is just the presentation there. And nowadays in modern technology, interface change so frequently, so quickly. A lot of times we don't get enough time to test all the UI levels. So because they're moving the button, there are all those things. But if the business logic is right behind the scene, it means your response would be the right. So your application is working right. So if the button they move from here to there, you have to update your testing, especially the automation. You have to update your automation code every time. If they move it, you have to update. But the logic is same.
Yeah.
So it is nowadays the API is getting more and more demand because you don't have enough time. Sometimes you don't get enough time to change every time. You update your test cases or your test script for the UI level. So it doesn't matter what the button, but the logic it's the same. So the behind the scene, if your API is able to verify the logic is good, then you just test your API level, and then you can say it's good, right? It's still, it's UI, it's important, the how it's present, to make sure the button is not looked odd or it's matching the color, all those things. But more important is the logic than the UI. UIs comes from later on, but if your logic is not good, your UI looks good, that it will not meet the business requirement. That's why API testing is very important. And do you know what is the difference between APIs and web services?
The main difference is all web services are API, but all APIs are not web services. When we put our API in the internet and with HTTP protocol, then it's become web services.
These are web services. Okay, yeah, you're right. And then you can run your API on your even local machine without your internet protocol.
Yes.
Right. So that's why all web services API, but all APIs are not no service. Yeah. What is API documentation?
API documentation is provided by the API developer, where all the what can I say, logic, or will be documentation in the API documentation, like what would be the header, authentication key, then content type, body. So everything have to be mentioned, what types of method. So they in this documentation, the developer will provide.
Yeah. Right. So how it's integrate with the application, how to set up events. So all the you can say one word, it's a menu of the API. How it's going to work, what's the all the different elements of the API. So that based on that, you can set up your test cases, right? Yeah, and this is a very important. This is the heart of the API.
Yes.
Right. Let's talk about what are the core component of HTTP request.
Is URI.
And let's talk first. Tell us about the method, like HTTP method. We know.
Okay. We have a post method, then get method, put, then patch, and delete.
Delete. Yeah. And what's and okay, let's go ahead. What else? Other than this HTTP method, what else you are saying that URI?
URI, there is a service URL and resource. Domain URL and service URL. In combination, we can say it's URI. Then header type, content type, not the header type, header type. Then authentication key. The thing and then body.
Yeah, the request body.
Yeah, request body.
Yeah, and what you can do through the get method?
Get method, we can retrieve the data with the get method.
Yeah, and what about the put method?
Put method, we can update the object in our database. Put method, we can update when we need to update any data in our database. Then we can use.
And what about the post?
Post also, post and put almost similar, but in post method we create the object in our database, and the put method almost do the same thing, but for example, we need to update only one field, but in put method we have to provide all the attributes.
Yeah. Okay, and delete can delete any object, right? Okay. What is the payload in RESTful web services?
What object we want to create in our database, and whatever information you provide in the body, there is the payload. Say we want to, for example, we want to create user ID and password. So user ID and password would be the payload for
Yeah,
the
the
post.
data you are interested in transporting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so last question. Few different example of response code in REST assured. Response code.
There
Say,
is various response code like 201, 200.
200, just to say
200 is okay.
like successful,
Yeah,
success response.
when we send the request is successful, then it will show 200.
Mhm.
201 is created.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's a created or update.
Yeah.
So it is all based on 200, so which is a
Yeah.
success.
And there is 400 series.
Yeah, 400 series.
400 series is 400 is bad request.
Mm-hmm.
404
Find
not.
the client sending some bad request.
Yes, say parameter problem or syntax error.
Yeah.
This at the time we will get
400.
and 404 if there is no I mean the whatever we are want to retrieve is not available in the database, then we'll get 4 not 4.
Mm-hmm.
And 401 is unauthorized.
Yeah, like invalid username.
Yeah, invalid username, invalid password. And there is 403 is prohibited.
500 series.
500 is server related, internal server related.
Server.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. I think those are the main the response code that we valid most of the time. Oh. Okay, I think that's all for today. So we just cover manual, cover the Java automation, and also the API. Overall, looks good. I mean, let's stop the recording, then we can talk about it.
Sure.
Yeah.